Hello everyone, welcome. This is Norma Woodcock speaking to you from Perth in Western Australia. I would like to speak into the readings for the 25th Sunday in Ordinary Time, Year C. The theme, honesty or dishonesty. The steward in Jesus' story in Luke's Gospel, he was unreliable and he was dishonest. I want to begin by sharing an episode in my journey. I had my conversion and come back to God and was speaking about Jesus in lots of places where I was booked to speak. And one day I remembered something that I had done. And I was horrified. And some years before my conversion, I had been in business with somebody else, and when I wanted to leave, they had to have lawyers, separate the partnership, etc. And the ex-partner rang me when all of this was done and asked whether I had a certain article that we had purchased when I was in the business. It was maybe worth, I don't know, a couple of $100. I remembered it was in my cupboard in the very top shelf, but I was so embarrassed that I actually lied. And I said, oh no, I don't have it. I was so embarrassed. And then my next thought was, when I hung up the phone, I could probably use that later on. Dishonest and unreliable. When I realised that, I was absolutely mortified. And I remember going to my Jesuit director and saying, I lied. But when I actually came back and began to reflect on it and to talk to God about it in my prayer time, I realised that it was a symptom of a much greater problem, and that problem is greed. I want to read for you a story, Greed by Degrees. Once a holy man was instructing his disciples as they walked through a wood. He pointed to a small oak sapling and asked one of his disciples to pull it up. The disciple did so with one hand. Then the master pointed to another oak, a little bigger than the first, and asked the disciple to pull that one up. He did so, but had to use both hands. The master pointed to a third and bigger oak and asked the disciple to pull it up. He could do so only with the help of one of his companions. Finally, he pointed to a still larger oak and asked the disciple to pull that one up. Even with the help of all his companions, he was unable to do so. And the master concluded, that's how it is with passions and habits. In the beginning, before they have sunk deep roots, it is easy to eradicate them. But if we allow them to sink deep roots, it becomes virtually impossible to rid ourselves of them. So it was very interesting for me that this particular instance in my life where I was dishonest and unreliable highlighted for me a habit that was deeply ingrained, a habit that I had picked up from very young in my early years, watching people around me, a habit that God wanted to eradicate. And that took time, and it took effort, and I'm still working on it. But what I want to say to you today is, nothing satisfies like God. Nothing gives us what we crave so much that we think we need and we think we can use except God, and He's a power to free us from all of that. And so I guess what I'm saying is it's in the little everyday choices to choose to be reliable and honest that gradually builds our character. And so I want you to encourage you that God looks at all of us with love. He doesn't look at us with disapproval, but He wants to change habits that have been begun very deep in our lives, very early in our lives. And with God, all things are possible. So may God bless you this week, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. Thank you for listening.